during Lent this year I decided to take time off of social media and not go on my usual social media platforms, just because I feel like sometimes I can tend to go on there and compare myself and just kind of like clicking off the app, feeling a bit defeated and not happy in myself. Like, as much as I like social media and I think it's such a great platform, I've just felt like I need a break from it. You know, I think it's healthy to take breaks of things that even they may be good. You can often tend to idolize things that aren't bad in themselves, but when we make them an idol then they become bad. And I think it's good to just like reflect on your life and see, what am I like putting as my number one, what am I not willing to let go of. And I actually heard this saying today that like previously back in the day, I don't know, people used to catch raccoons by making a hole in a tree and putting an object inside the tree, so then the raccoon would put their arm in the tree and then grab the object. So they put their hand into a fist inside this hole, and because they've now made a fist they can't pull their arm out, because it's like a bigger object for them to take out of the hole than if their hand was like that. And the guy who was saying this story was saying how like often we can be holding on so tightly to something that we're not willing to let go of it, which means we can't get out of the situation, we can't get out of something. And I think it just really struck me as like, what am I holding on to tightly that I'm not willing to let go of, so that I can get out of this situation, so I can just release it to God, so I can just let God have control of it. Because in some situations you can be holding on so tightly to something that you're just like, I'm not letting go of this, I want this thing, I want what is in my hand, like I want to have control over it. But sometimes we just need to release and then let go, and just like step back almost and let God just have control, like he's ought to. He already knows the plan, like he's already in control of it. And I'm filming this on Good Friday, and this morning I read in Matthew about you know, the process of Easter, like what happened in the Bible, because often I feel like I can tend to go about Easter and just feel like, oh, it's just Easter, I know what happens, I know Jesus went to the cross, I know Jesus died, I know he rose again, and it almost just becomes this kind of like story that I've been brought up to know. I know what happens, and I've kind of lost the awe factor of it, and like what that actually symbolised. It wasn't just another person just dying, because often we can read in the news, especially nowadays, just people dying, and it almost becomes like, oh, it's just another person, it's just another thing that has happened, and we kind of lose heart of it, and we lose the sympathy, we lose the human nature that has actually happened, like the importance of what has happened and the value of that person's life. But when I was reading it today, I feel like this is like the first time ever, maybe, I'm not sure, that I've like read it and been like, wow, like Jesus actually died for me. Like just slowly reading through the Bible, when he's talking about what Jesus did, the Last Supper, how Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him, yet he still calls him friend, he's still nice to him, he still invites him to the table, he's still friendly to all, even though he knows who's going to betray him, he knows what's about to happen. And certain words that are sticking out into my like head when I was reading and like throughout the day just pondering it, is when Jesus is saying like, take this away from me. He's praying to God and he's like, take this away from me, because he doesn't want to die, he doesn't want this to happen, and he's like, God, take this away from me, but not my will, your will be done. And that is just really just stuck with me throughout the whole day, about how Jesus he was scared, he didn't want this to happen, but at the end of the day he knew he was living for God, and he was like, but your will be done, not mine. And it takes it back to the Lord's Prayer, and it says that our Father in heaven, your will be done. Like, it's straight back to the basics, and it all kind of just links them together. And I think it's just so amazing about how Jesus, he was like at the end of his life, he didn't want this to happen, he probably could have had many more years ahead of him and performed more miracles and done different things, and in our minds we can often think, oh, why didn't he do that, like that would have been so much better if he would have just carried on living. But this was part of God's plan, and Jesus knew that God had a plan. Jesus knew that even though maybe people at the time, people later in life wouldn't see the reason why, he knew that Sunday was coming, he knew that Easter was coming, and that he was going to rise again, and that there was a purpose for his pain, there was a purpose for why things had to happen. And so he just laid it down at God. You know, he released his hand and was like, your will be done. He didn't say, oh, my will be done, actually I'm gonna change my ways, I'm gonna, you know, get off this cross, not actually die for people. But he's like, no, Lord, I don't want to do this, but your will be done. Let your will come to pass. So he let go of it all and then was able to hand it all to God and let God's plan prevail. I think that's just so amazing, to take into your day, take into your week, that actually God's got a plan. And when we pray, we need to yes, have faith that God's going to do stuff, but also just know that it's God's will that needs to happen. And often I think I definitely forget that when I'm praying, I want my will to be done. I pray and I'm just like reflecting on kind of the prayers that I would often do. I'm asking for things, I'm not really thanking, I'm not saying sorry, I'm just kind of asking. It's almost like a little letter to Santa, like, I want this, I want that, I want that, and then like briefly at the end I'll be like, oh yeah, thank you for that, and then it ends. And it's kind of just like, is that what we're supposed to be doing in prayer? Is that what it's all about? Or actually, like, who's running your life? Is it you running it, or is it God? Because if it's me running it, then it just doesn't make sense. It needs to be God running your life, and then you hand it back to him and be like it's okay to ask for things in prayer. Like, it's good to let your heart out to God and say, like, this is what I'm longing for, this is what I want. But at the end of the day, you need to like come to acceptance in yourself that it's God's will that needs to be done, not your own. I think that's so difficult, and it's so much easier said than done, and I struggle with it like all the time. But just knowing that, like, just seeing Jesus as our perfect example, being perfect in himself, him dying, him going to the cross for me, for you, and saying, like, on the cross he says, my God, why have you forsaken me? So you can like if you really like ponder just on those few words, you can kind of hear the like sadness and agony in his voice. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why have you just left me here? Why am I having to die for all these people? Why am I, the perfect one, having to die for all these people? And Jesus is saying that, but at the end of the day he said, not my will be done but yours. And he's just committing it all to God. And I think that's just so encouraging for all of us, that often we can't see where it's going. Even though Jesus knew the plan, he kind of knew where things are going, he knew he had to fulfill the prophecies. For us, when we don't even know where life's going, we don't know what's going to happen next, we don't know what's going to happen in 2 minutes time, let alone a year's time, that we just need to put it back to God and be like, look, God, this is what I'm longing for, this is what I really want, but at the end of the day, your plan is the best plan for my life, and I want your will to be done in my life, not my own. Because let's be honest, if we were masters of our own life, things would go to absolute mess. Can you imagine, like, what would happen if we were in control of our lives? It would just not be fun. And often we try to take that control, and you can see, I bet if you reflected on your own life, when were the times that you took matters into your own hands? You thought, oh, I can do this, I don't need to tell God about this, like, this, no, I've got this under control, I can do this one. And then actually you can see, actually I didn't do that very well by myself, I actually needed God in that situation. And it just kind of makes you like see that, like, what if I just would have committed that to God in the first place? If I would have just done a Jesus and been like, your will be done, God, I'm just gonna let you actually drive this car, let you take the wheel and just show me the way, rather than me trying to jump off. Because I've had this so many times, and often I'm kind of like, blah, I've had it so many times, but like, where is God in your car? Is he driving, or is he in your passenger seat? Is he in the back seat? Is he in the boot? Is he like on the roof? Like, where is God in your car? And like, who's in control of this vehicle? Is it you? Because often you can think like, oh, actually I'm in the wheel, but I've got God right next to me. He's directing me. He's the passenger. He's holding the map. He's there. He's telling me which way to go, but I'm still the one driving. So at the end of the day, if my passenger says take a left and I'm not paying attention, I might take a right instead, or I might go straight on. And that's not what the passenger said. That's not what Jesus said. So just like using that little reference, whatever you want to call it, and actually reflecting, like, where actually is God in my car? Where is he in my life? Like, is he actually the one in control? Am I actually saying your will be done, or am I actually secretly saying my will be done? Actually, I want what's best for me. I think I know what's best for me. Because often you can reflect on your life and be like, God, like, I wouldn't have done it like that, actually. I would have done this, or I would have let that happen to me. I would have let this person come into my life. I would have, like, not done that. But there's no point saying that, because God's plan is perfect and he's got the best plan for you. And it's just such a great example, just looking at Jesus on the cross and knowing that he's going to die for all human sin and take it all to the grave, and give us all life. And yet he didn't want to do that. He was sad, he was upset, but he still says, like, God, I'm leaving it to you, it's in your hands, and I know you've got the best plan for me. So I hope that encourages you to know that even though we often want to take control and we want to grab the wheel, we want to just, sporadically turn that way, when actually Jesus is saying to go the complete opposite direction, that if you just let him have the wheel and let God drive you, you will go on the best journey. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. There's no guarantee in the Bible that says, oh, if you let God drive your life, it's going to be easy. Like, no, that doesn't happen. That's a big misconception. I feel like that's not life. Life is meant to give you trials and testings, and when you get a trial, you test yourself, you get perseverance. Like my dad always says, if you test yourself, get a bit of character building. It's good for you. It does that. It will build you up, and it will help you, make you stronger. And that's just true. Like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, because you learn from your mistakes and you go from it. So I just want to encourage you that things aren't going to be easy in this life. Things are no means going to just, you're not always going to be headed on an up in your roller coaster. There will be ups and downs. There will be, sporadic things where you suddenly turn, like on a roller coaster, and you suddenly just twist. Like, that's going to happen in life. But just knowing that God's actually got it in control, and he knows, he's not surprised by the things that are going to come out at us, the things that suddenly pop out that we're like, whoa, I did not see that one coming. God did. He knew that was coming. He knew that was going to happen. And I hope that just gives you complete comfort that that actually, although I can't see where this is heading, although I want my own will for my life, I'm actually going to release it to God and know that he already knows where I'm going to end up. He knows where I'm going to be 1 week from now at 2 p.m. He already knows where I'm going to be. He knows the hairs on your head. He knows every little detail about you. And he chooses to love you and chose to send his son down to die for you. And I just hope that you remember that at Easter, that although the chocolate's great and everything like that is absolutely amazing, maybe you get to see a bit more family this year, the weather's fabulous, but I hope you remember that actually Jesus is the reason for Easter, and that's the reason we're actually alive today. And I just hope that encourages you that God is in control, and that you just need to submit it to him and do a Jesus and release it to him and say, your will be done, God. And yeah, so I just hope that encourages you and gives you a new strength, and that after this Easter you can feel encouraged to know that God died, Jesus died for you, and he loves you and cares for you. He wants you to submit his life to you, and he wants you to put God on the driving wheel, in front, in control, and let him drive you rather than you driving your own self into potentially destruction. So let God take the wheel and enjoy the journey, and know that God's got it all under control. He knows what's happening, he knows what's coming, and his will is the best will for your life.